Okay, so now we will look into increasing revenue. Seng Industrials Berhad suffered a drop in revenue from 2020 to 2021. The drop was from 327 million ringgit to 295 million ringgit. That is a 9.7% decrease. Now, we understand that mainly this was due to various lockdowns around the Asian region and, of course, the world, which hits the export market portion of the revenue. Exports accounted for roughly 25% of the group's revenue in 2020. Our suggestion is that the company should reduce its export revenue. Now, that is to say not to venture out into new markets, but in how it is being implemented. We recommend that production centers, manufacturing centers, supply chains are more closely integrated to the target country market. Instead of making it here in Malaysia and exporting it, Seng's management can consider, if they are in a market like Cambodia, to have a production center in Cambodia and also various distribution channels within that country itself, so that it would not seem as an export. This would be a better allocation in terms of resources to avoid disruptions in supply chains. If raw material and labor are locally sourced and production are locally made, even though it does seem like an export, it does take away the risk that we saw during COVID-19. Additionally, it can also aid in the increase of revenue for the group. That's to say that since your production centers are there, your salespeople have more control over delivery, and also when the timing of productions would be able to met, as they'll be better to cater to overseas customers and also such. Production quality and quantity would be much more easier to control if an entity is being established there at the market itself, instead of it being an export market where they need to wait for headquarters to reply. This subsidiary in that target market can act much more faster, flexible, and more nimble. Now, we move on to maintaining costs for the company. Now, although 2020 was a challenging year, we do believe that Seng Industrials Berhad management can improve their cost maintenance. That is to say, the company cost to sales ratio from 2019 to 2020 increased from 66% to 72%. Its competitor, Oriental Food Industries Holdings, managed to maintain theirs at 82% of cost to sales. Now, although this number does seem high, but it does show that maintaining costs throughout this 3-year period while raw materials were rising in prices is possible. So the company management can learn from their competitor by better allocating these company resources. Some examples that we have come up would be to set up production line closer to the target market, so that the raw materials are locally sourced and that the company will have better control over quantity and price for those raw materials. Alternatively, would be to acquire a large supplier of raw materials and make cost maintenance of those raw materials a core competency for the company. Furthermore, the company can hire specialists in commodity futures to come up with more effective hedging strategies. Commodities such as sugar, flour, grain, these are all traded on the open market, and they are companies or trading firms that would take on these risks to help hedge in the environment of rising prices. When this is done well, this can be a boon for the company, as the cost savings can be significant.